With damp and mould growing on the walls, this old, leaky caravan is what seasonal farm workers coming to the UK are expected to live in for the 6 months they're here. Footage we've obtained shows windows in a state of disrepair, the furniture stained, the heater doesn't work. Even the toilet here is broken. This place is called Leaky Nursery in Essex, and the footage is filmed by farm workers from Central Asia here to grow and pick aubergines. They're charged £300 a month per person to live like this. It comes out of their minimum wage pay, and 3 workers have to share 2 beds.
The caravan was disgusting and cold. There weren't even enough beds. I had to sleep sitting on a chair. Then they gave me an old sofa from the barn. That smelled of cat urine. If we complained, they told us this is all that was available for us. Sometimes they were shouting at us, telling us to work faster, even though we were at the limit of our capabilities. The relationship felt like slaves.
The owner of Leaky Nursery has denied the allegations we put to him. We shared our findings with the labour provider for this farm. They told us the seasonal workers have since been transferred elsewhere, and they've reported these conditions to the Home Office. But the farm in Essex is not the only place we found concerns about accommodation.
Our family have been here since 1992.
In the northeast of Scotland, Castleton is one of the country's biggest, most prestigious farms. Family run, owned by Ross and Anna Mitchell. They've had a visit from royalty, and their website boasts that you'll see their famous strawberries on the shelves at Marks & Spencer, Tesco, Waitrose and Lidl. This is the promise Castleton officially gives to those coming here on seasonal work visas.
At Castleton, we are able to provide workers with accommodation in static caravan, which 4 people share, with all the comfort you will need: separate bedrooms, living area, bathroom and kitchen.
But we have seen the reality. This is a successful, high-end and profitable farm for the owners, but their seasonal workers are living like this. 2 people, sometimes strangers, are crammed into small caravan bedrooms, sleeping almost side by side. They do a physical job by day, and then this is how they must sleep at night for the 6 months they live here. There's also evidence of the furniture being aged, in some cases clearly damaged. We've seen these living conditions, but we've also been looking into how much the workers are being charged to stay in these caravans, and it is well above average for accommodation in this area. To put it into context, a 2-bedroom caravan here is being rented out for about £1,200 a month. We've checked, and that is more than double the going rate for a modern 2-bedroom apartment in the towns nearest here. 2 people here. After finishing a shift on the Aberdeenshire farm, 3 workers at Castleton agreed to meet me and speak anonymously. They said living in these conditions and being charged so much feels like exploitation.
Our
caravans are really bad. We are sleeping far too closely together. You sleep in one position because there's barely any room to move. There's no privacy. You lose your dignity living like this.
Despite paying such high rent already, these workers tell me they've also been threatened with a £100 fine if the caravan is deemed to be untidy, and they say they face weekly inspections.
We came here to do a job, but this is not how we expected workers in Great Britain would be treated. It feels like we are being discriminated against.
We can report that seasonal workers are not being given equal protections in law, and that's due to a legal loophole identified in our investigation. Caravan accommodation housing so many people like this should normally require HMO licences and would normally be subject to inspections by local authorities. But caravans for seasonal farm workers are specifically exempt from this. The legislation is devolved, so we showed our footage from Castleton to Scotland's First Minister.
Well, those conditions look unacceptable, completely unacceptable, and obviously the points that you're putting to me about cost are equally troubling as well.
These agricultural workers are not actually being given the same protections that people who would expect if they were going to work and their employer was giving them accommodation in other sectors. Is that something that you would commit to looking at?
I think where people are making that contribution of coming here, they've got to be well supported and well looked after.
And if there is a loophole in legislation in Scotland that's allowing that to happen, would you agree that should be closed?
I'll certainly explore that, all those issues.
In a statement, Castleton Farm told us they try to avoid having strangers sharing bedrooms and said, "We are independently audited regularly, which includes an assessment of how we treat our workforce and our standard of accommodation." They say they are replacing static-style caravans with modern chalet-style accommodation and added, "We take great pride in the accommodation and conditions we provide, which they say represents good value compared with private sector accommodation."
There's problems with damp and mould.
We took our footage from these two farms to the Worker Support Centre. They say they've been raising concerns about the conditions for seasonal workers at farms across the country.
It is a scandal. And I think the fact that multiple workers report issues to us of, rat infestations, mould, damp, broken furniture, lack of security, real safety risks that people will report on a regular basis, and yet those workers are also paying these high rates for that accommodation is something that I don't think many people are that aware of.
ITV News is not accusing either farm in this report of criminality. Ultimately, government issues the visas and sets the rate for how much seasonal workers can be charged for accommodation while they support the country's agricultural sector, worth £14 billion to the UK economy. A spokesperson from the Home Office told us the welfare of visa holders is of paramount importance and we are clamping down on poor working conditions and exploitation. But neither government nor local authorities inspected these caravans to see if conditions were suitable or if the accommodation fairly reflected what workers are being charged. And that is leaving a bitter taste with those we rely on to harvest our fields and stock our supermarket shelves. Peter Smith, ITV News, Aberdeenshire.